Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Mega Apocalypse for the Commodore 64, programmed by Simon Nicol and published by Martech. It was released for the Commodore 64 in 1987 and is a single-player or multiplayer shooter. It's a direct sequel to the game Crazy Comets. After you see this game, it's worth taking a look at that game. It's very similar, but with different game music. It seems maybe a little less chaotic. I'll get to that one eventually. Mega Apocalypse was ported to a few different systems in that era, like the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, and the BBC Micro, and out of all the other versions I've seen, the Commodore 64 version appears to give the best visuals. Even though Mega Apocalypse and Crazy Comets are connected, and one's a sequel to the other, they both were apparently a clone of an arcade game called Mad Planets, which this is a game I'd never heard of before I started poking around. I saw some footage online, and Mad Planets certainly looks similar. The graphics look a little better maybe, but I have to say, the gameplay for Mega Apocalypse seems faster, and it certainly has a much better soundtrack, hands down. Overall, I have to say this is a unique shooter, and it's worth some game time. I think you can see just by looking at the start of the game, this game is a total trip of chaos. It has some great Commodore 64 synth music to accompany the game, and it plays throughout the entire game, not just at the beginning. I think that's great. If you spend time developing music like this, let's at least have some time to listen to it. It also has synthesized voice that jumps in from time to time, which is really interesting. It doesn't happen a lot. It is a little unexpected, but it's great to hear in a Commodore 64 game. This is one of those games that's great to play with the lights off. You're in outer space and you're flying a spaceship, so having no overhead lights in the background really helps the game pop off the screen. That's what I think anyway. This is a multi-directional shooter, and it's a little bit similar to Asteroids, except it's crazy fast, with a great soundtrack, way better graphics, and there's far more frantic gameplay. It's a simple enough premise. You're just a pilot in a spaceship, now go shoot everything. There are power-ups that usually appear near the start of the levels, and they upgrade your ships. You'll find missiles and rotating thrusters, stuff like that. And the rotating thrusters are great because they allow you to press your fire button and rotate your ship and fire at different angles. For the most part, the game has you set to auto-fire, so you can focus more on dodging and aiming. The enemies you fight, for the most part anyway, they're comets or they're planet-looking objects. Some of them you can destroy quickly, while others you have to shoot and then move more, and try to get around them and shoot again. It's a constant movement struggle. We're flying in outer space in a spaceship, and the universe here is filled with thousands of millions of little stars off in the distance, and they all have flickering colors. This kind of reminds me of the old Windows screensavers from the 90s, although in this universe the stars have color. The background also shifts the way it is portrayed as you move through it. Sometimes you're just flying straight ahead into the universe, and every now and again you start to spin as though you're flying around in a tunnel. It's a really interesting effect to kind of be twisting into space as you fly, and you continue to fight when this happens the whole time. The game doesn't stop. It's not a stagnant game by any means. There's also very little time to stop and take a breath with this game, mostly because some levels can be over really fast, and then you're on to the next one. I suppose if you needed to pause, you would usually hit the menu button on the controller, if you're playing a C64 Mini, of course. Overall, I would have to say this game is total carnage. There is a 2-player version available as well, but I have not given that one a try yet. Now, usually when I make a video like this, I only like to let the gameplay run only a few seconds longer than the narration, but here I'm going to let this one go on a little further because it's wild. Well, that's all I got for Mega Apocalypse for the Commodore 64. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.